We will start with the roll call. Perfect timing.
Director Daniels,
Here.
Director Edwards,
Here.
Director Lindor,
I am here. I'm recovering from surgery and I'm unable to attend the meeting in person. So as such, I'm attending remotely as a reasonable accommodation. And there are no individuals 18 years or older and present in this room at my remote location.
thank you. Director Paul,
Here.
Vice Chair Oglesby,
Here.
Chair Riley.
Here.
We have a quorum of 6 members.
Okay, we'll stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. On my lead, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, so the first item tonight will be a presentation of appreciation of a member that's leaving us, has resigned recently, Amy Anderson. We will start with some comments from the directors, and we will take the time it takes to pick our comments. So we'll start with, would someone like to start? Okay, Alan.
I'll start there. Amy, already miss you. From the last meeting that I attended and working with you. You have done an outstanding job of trying to keep me informed and keep us informed of what's going on. You remind me of that E.F. Hutton commercial. If something is said, people listen. So when you spoke, I listened. So I'm gonna miss you. I want you to take care of yourself. You're gonna be missed. Special Vice Director, thank you.
Shall I just jump in?
Sure.
We'll go this way.
It's fine.
I can say too, I mean, I have not been on this board for very long, and that chair was empty for the last couple of meetings, and it was, you are very much missed. And I want to say that it's so important as we volunteer and serve on these various committees and boards and commissions in Monterey County that we have thoughtful people who are doing things for the right reasons and who step up and step into leadership. And if we didn't, we wouldn't have successfully protected our resources like the Carmel River and our water supply in the way that we have. And I remember that time when you were deciding whether or not to run, and you did it, and you served really, just beautifully in this position. And I'm just really grateful that I got the chance to work with you and look forward to continuing on this journey with you as a director and as you as a member of the public.
Yes, thank you again. I have, oh my goodness. I haven't been on the board this long, but we already miss your voice. I already miss your presence over here. And it's always the voice of reason, someone that's going to think through it and remind us all to think through it. Really, that's what, when I think of you, that's what I think of, someone that is going to catch the details and make sure we pay attention to what we're supposed to pay attention to, particularly the ratepayers and how the thing all works together. So I missed that already, but we're supportive of you. We're right behind you, and that's what we're going to do is wish you well and see you in the public and continue to wish you well and just be there with you. But I'm always going to miss your wisdom from up here. So thank you for the time that you were in the public sphere. Like Kate said, a lot of people don't want to step up, particularly sometimes not the right people, but you're definitely the right person at the right time. So I'm glad I was here to share that with you. So thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Chair says it's my turn. I'm so happy to see you here in person. It's just really, which I guess is why everybody's saying we missed you when you words here and we will. And what everybody said is, I feel the same, so I won't repeat it, but I want to say you and I, our journey together actually started before we were sworn in. It started when we just both decided to run for the position of Water Management District Director. And we were, but both of us, first time ever, remember, first time I had never thought I would do something like that, and figuring out how to do it and trying to help each other as best we could along the way. And it was good having you as a, you know, as a companion in that part of the journey, and then on the board. It's been, and I'm glad Kate mentioned that, you know, yeah, we need people to serve, and it's, you know, it's almost a volunteer kind of position. And I feel grateful. I feel grateful that you ran, that you won, that you served with us, and I will miss you too.
Thank you. Becca, you want to?
Yes, absolutely. Amy, you are going to be so missed. I remember my first few board meetings and I sat next to you and I felt so relieved that there was somebody next to me who knew what was going on and could break it down for me so easily. I appreciate all that you've done for me and for the board, and you definitely will be missed.
Thank you. Well, I've known Amy for a long time, but I just want to say her first love was music, not water. And then she got a degree in biology. So next love was science. Maybe that includes a little bit of water. But we shared some time together on the League of Women Voters. We went to Atlanta in 2009 together on the same group that went there, trying to get a national policy change about paper ballots. And we did. We were able to get a national vote of approval at that conference. And it was a good, strong team, I thought. Anyway, you've served on, you've all been looking for trouble, it seems like. I'm gonna call it good trouble. But you were on the Commission on the Status of Women when you were at the Oregon State University. You were one of the founding members of the Democratic Women in Monterey County. I think I'm getting these things right. When Measure G, which most people don't remember Measure G, but I do because I was recently in town and got interested in that particular project, which was to incorporate Carmel Valley. And you volunteered to be one of the council members if it passed. Well, as it turned out, it failed by 2 points. But you
No, there was no council.
Well, I've just been, and you've used your music as partly a fundraising activity. I know you were at some fundraiser event that I was at, and it was probably public water now. But
Professional, making it, you know, part-time, it's too many.
Anyway, I've appreciated over the years knowing you and working with you on other projects as well as on the board here. And I think you always came in with some comment in relation to the rationality behind something we were discussing. So you called attention to the logic of going forward, or the comprehensiveness of it for going forward. I always appreciated that because it caused me a little bit like what Ian said. It caused you to just, it goes through your mind and it sticks there a little bit. Anyway, I appreciate all that. Anyway, we'll miss you. I will miss you. And I wish you all the best going forward. Anyway, I do have something I want to present to you. And I don't know the format of where, is it the whole board? Is it just a few of us? Is it me go do it? Your Mommy River too. Let's do that. You stand here. No, you stand. No. And I want you to show this. Okay, it's got your favorite, that's your favorite river on there. And we're gonna miss you.
Now, can we take a picture with her?
Yeah. Yeah.
The whole team.
Got it on there?
Yeah.
Some of your logo and stuff.
Oh, wait.
Mayor, I know I became one of the sick laying lady, and he wanted to stand up. Thank you.
Get everybody in? We should have got those close. A handsome group. Yeah.
Yeah.
I've known each other.
Train sign.
I love that though.
Yeah, I started doing something I thought I'd never do, which is wearing sneakers all the time to work, you know.
I didn't think about.
Like I'll never become that guy, and I became that guy.
Chair Riley, I do have Michael Bear with his hand raised.
Okay, we'll go to public comment.
Yes.
Oh,
Yes.
yes,
please.
first. Okay, hold off, Michael. Hold off, Michael. Amy is recognized.
Oh, come on to the mic now.
So we can
So
record
we can
you.
put you on the record. Thank you, ma'am.
It took a while for me to make the decision to run for this board. I remember talking to George about it a lot. We're looking for other candidates and I thought, what the hell, I want to do this. So it's been a very interesting experience for me. Also my first kind of elected experience and although I've done a lot of board work and work with other organizations, this was close to my heart. You know, it's always been, music was first, that's true, and then biology, and then I had a dress designing business for a while. What else did I do? My father used to say, are you ever gonna get a job before you're 50? I said, well, I don't know. We'll see. And it was very good working with all of you. It's a brain stretch. It's unfamiliar and there's a lot of information and I really liked it when it clicked and it went together. You can see, oh, I see the whole arc of it or something and but now that's harder for me. I'm having, lapses in memory from my medications and so forth, and that's really hard. So I couldn't do it. But life is okay. We'll see. I got 2 years to try this medication, see how it goes. And I'm kind of tough, so I'll do it if I can. But I'll miss you all. And I'll probably watch you. So I'll definitely be keeping track of what's going on and thinking of all the hard work that we've done. I am so impressed with this organization, with the general manager and the work he does and the work of everybody that works here. It's a really good group of people. And you know, it's just, it's an honest business. And, everybody is thinking about the right things, thinking about what's the impact of what we're doing? How is it gonna serve the peninsula, the people? And I was proud to be part of the team, very much so. So thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you. Michael Barry, you still want to speak?
Michael, when you're ready.
Yeah, I'm ready. Hi, everyone. Amy, thank you for your service. A highlight for me when I think about, we've known each other since Measure O. And I think we've knocked on doors together and all that wonderful stuff. But the Yes on J organizing committee that we would do up there at the top of Munris with Gary Carnes at that restaurant when we were trying to get Yes on J. I'll never forget those times. I mean, that was the heart of the battle, and it was really, really wonderful to get to know you there. And I'm so proud of you for moving into elected office and holding the seat. So thank you for that. If I might, I'd like to take my full 3 minutes. I don't know if I meant one. I gotta go. I'm taking my sister to the San Francisco airport. She came out for my mother's memorial service, which was last Wednesday, and fantastic. Now she's flying back to Australia. So I just want to use my public comment, move forward into the agenda. You know, I'm going to tell the story of George. George, I want to thank you so much for all your service. You're the reason we're in all this trouble. You are behind it all. And I want to remind you when I was your roommate in 2016, and we went up to Sacramento together for the State Water Resources Control Board when the Cal-Am was asking for their extension, right? Because it was expiring in 2016 and they needed an extension to 2021. And I remember the staff report before all the discussion began, and they were talking about the three-legged stool of recycled water, water from the Carmel River, resources, that, taking the winter water out, and Cal-Am. And that staff report said, well, right now, Cal-Am's ahead, but if you guys can make your, get off the river and develop a resource that is sustainable, then we got no problem. And so I just want to remind you of that moment that I think of. I actually went back once a few years ago. And
Michael, get to the end. Get to the end, please.
You can go to that meeting. Yeah, I don't have a clock, so I'm used to talking for 3 minutes. You can go to that meeting and look up the staff report. It's an 8-hour meeting, and somewhere in there, the staff says, if you guys solve your problem, we got no problem. And that we've solved our problem, we got no problem. So please write to the State Water Board and say, okay, release, it's time.
Thank you.
It's time to release the CDO. We're done. All right. Thank you so much. I will be back in November, December, I hope. And have a great meeting. I gotta run to the airport. Thank you so much.
Thank you. All right. That was a little out of order. Well, it's not open to the public yet. He just, no, I'll get there in 30 seconds. Okay. So we'll close the public comment at that point. Are there any additions and corrections to the agenda?
Shall I check with Melody Chrislock if she has something for Amy?
If it's for Amy, yes. Watch your time, please.
It's hard to watch time when there's no clock, but I will. Amy, thank you so much. You really are an amazing water warrior. Like Michael, we go back to Measure O, and everything you've done for this community is just so appreciated. Thank you so much. And I hope it all goes well.
Thank you, Melanie. Okay, now back to the official agenda. Any additions and corrections to the agenda?
No.
Okay, move forward to oral communications, 30 seconds. I don't, not to you. No, I was just to me saying it was only 30 seconds. Yeah. Yes, you have 3 minutes.
The jumping bean, want to talk to you guys so bad because we've been working with the Resource Conservation District for the last year since, and a little bit longer since I.
Did you introduce yourself,
Oh, I'm so sorry.
please?
Elise Wyland, Executive Director of the Carmel River Watershed Conservancy.
Thank you.
And we've been working with the Resource Conservation District and others on fire safety, wildfire, drought, and flood for quite a while. And there have been some missing pieces. And I'm very excited to say that we found a group that we are starting to contract with, the Watershed Progressive. And what our starting point that we're going to be doing this fall is to do an entire watershed opportunity map. And what that's going to give us is it's going to take our data from our previous projects, the vegetation data in terms of native versus invasive species, the data on flooding, the data on where septic is versus where sewer is, and where our wildfire risks are, and then apply solutions. And then put out for us, if you put rainwater catchment here, you will save this much water from here. If you take out this vegetation here, you will decrease your fire risk this much. All that means is that once we have that data, an opportunity map for the entire watershed, is we will be able to engage the landowners of all sorts, public, private, and residential, in being part of this. It also helps us engage resources to be able to address these things. And it also helps us find the people and places to make all those things happen. Last week, I was at the watershed, the Localizing California Watersheds Conference, and I was able to see the 5-year results of this same map in action in Petaluma. They have the Petaluma Land Stewardship Network, and they got this map 5 years ago. And I talked with Trathan, who's head of that, and I said, how has it been? And what have your results been? And he said, in 5 years, we've done 120 transformative projects. 5 years. 120. So within, by spring, we will have this map for you, and we'll be able to identify not only where the problems area are, but also those solutions and real data about how much it will save, how much it will help, so that we can then go out and get resources, bring people in, and make some real transformative progress on our watershed. And I just have been so excited. I wanted to share it with all of you. And I hope that once we've done it on the Little Carmel watershed, we'll be able to get it on the Salinas and get it on the San Lorenzo and really make it happen to land stewardship throughout Monterey County.
All right.
Thank you for listening.
Thank you very
Thank you.
much. Next item is a special action item tonight because of. Pardon?
Yes, somebody.
Oh, are there more public comments? I just didn't see any hands for anything. Sure.
Good evening. Nice to meet you all for the first time. My name's Michael Bona. I'm the owner and broker of Bonafide Properties and been following the water situation on the peninsula here for quite a long time now. And I've recently gone into escrow on a vacant piece of property in Monterey and representing another person doing the same. And I'm digging deep into trying to find out where we are in the releasing of water and what, after looking at ordinance 179, which has been passed and adopted, we're hopeful that with this board's help, that this moratorium can get lifted and this available water could be released, and it'll be a great new tax revenue for the cities and housing issues solved and all kinds of things. So if anybody has any insight or advice as to whether I should continue or not this pursuit of either the right to pay property tax and do nothing, or the right to be able to actually develop housing that my family and I, we want to build what I'm calling my legacy home, because we started here in our first purchase in Monterey in 1974. And I would like to end in Monterey on Stephen Place, on the lot I'm in escrow on. So I'm more than willing to hear from anybody as to, this isn't going to happen for 5 years more, or there's a possibility over the next year that we should be able to get a release and fulfill the mandates required by state and everybody else for housing for the cities and a new water supply without.
Did you say you were in the city of Monterey?
Yes.
Okay, I just didn't know. I didn't remember what jurisdiction you
Yes,
said.
yes. So
Okay.
I'm really looking forward to working with you all and learning all I can. I've been staying up late at night reading a lot about you and seeing the lawsuits and how CalAm keeps getting denied all these things. It's very complicated for a layperson.
Yes.
So any insights you professionals have, I would be grateful. I'd be grateful.
Is- Okay, you guys exchange cards and we'll go on with the agenda. Okay. Thank you, Guy.
Thank you very much and appreciate all the hard work you do.
Okay. Any other members of the public want to comment? Are there anybody on Zoom? Anybody else?
Chair Riley, I see no raised hand.
All right, thank you. So the special action item tonight is to address the vacancy that's been created with all our compliments to Amy. Dave, can you?
Yeah, let me
just through the
introduce this item. A week ago, Saturday, you were given a preliminary look at 3 candidates, and as things proceeded on Wednesday, one of the candidates dropped out. So we have 2 candidates. The candidates had also been informed on Saturday morning a week ago that they would have an opportunity to deliver 3 to 5 minutes of background on themselves to you, and then address any questions that this board may have. One of the candidates, Jomana Amara, was unable to make it to our meeting. So normally we'd sequester all 3 of them in the green room so they don't hear each other's comments and bring them in one at a time, but we have only one candidate here with us this evening. So your choices are to either reach out to the other candidate and set up a time next week, or make a decision based on what is in front of you tonight. Either way, you have to make a decision by the 11th of November based on law. The timeline expires at that point. So we would have to hold a special meeting if you chose to not take action today. And with that, and only having a single candidate, we don't have to send anybody out of the room and we can get started.
So it's either tonight or a special accommodation for this other candidate. Would that have to be in the presence of the existing candidate or
No,
just for the board?
But it would have to be a formal board meeting, meaning in person.
And open to the public.
And open to the public, yeah.
Meeting,
Yeah, it would be a meeting.
Notice meeting.
special.
And I think
Well,
all 3 original candidates were eminently well qualified. And they all lived in the proper division, so that was good. So I don't think he can do any wrong here. These are all very, very good people.
Through the chair.
yes, yes,
My understanding is it's only 2.
Correct.
that's right.
Then I just want to be clear that we should talk about making a decision before we hear from anybody of what we want to do, to make sure the process is fair. So why do we think it's important to hear from everybody, or we don't need to hear from everybody? That doesn't mean we can't hear from one, but I'm saying we're not disadvantaging the person that's not here because we don't get to hear from them. They still have a fair shot at being selected.
And we ought to discuss that option. I agree with you. And we ought to decide that before we hear from any candidate.
Correct.
Yeah, okay. Supervisor.
So we had the opportunity to look in our binders and read the information. I think we actually received a little bit more, maybe CVs and such. Was the other candidate invited to come via Zoom as well?
We didn't have that conversation.
Okay.
She indicated that she was not available
Okay.
this week, but could set up a time the following week.
Well, I just, as folks could probably imagine, a special meeting between now and November 11th for me would be very difficult to schedule. That's not an easy feat. So I feel like we can take a look at the applications. We've all, I'm sure, read what was provided. And we can ask the questions. I think as the general manager said, we have two good candidates. And so if we are able to ask questions of the candidate who showed up tonight, we probably can get a good assessment of whether or not we're comfortable moving forward.
Okay, well, yeah, it's too bad we couldn't have that other candidate here. Any other comments? Okay, Melvin.
Go ahead, Karen. I'm thinking.
Yeah, me too. Ideally, we'd like to give the opportunity to both candidates to speak, but there's this short timeline, the difficulty of actually meeting at another time before the 11th. And the fact that, I agree with what our general manager said, that two extremely well, from what we know, the information we got, make two extremely well qualified candidates. So all things considered, I think it's probably best if we make a decision tonight.
So we think
Go ahead.
we don't need to hear from them to make a decision. That's what we need to agree on.
I hear what you're saying.
I hear what you're saying, and that's what we need to, need to say that, because that way the other person not disadvantaged. We got their background, we can read, and we can make a decision.
Got it. I see what you're saying.
Yeah.
I think I was saying the opposite.
Mhm.
That if in asking questions you had a discomfort, you could make a decision not to select the candidate, but we have to make a decision by the 11th. I feel like, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, it's pretty straightforward what this process is. And so I've been through it unsuccessfully. It was very stressful, but you know what's gonna come down the pipeline. And I realize things come up, but you would know that we have a meeting and that it would have to be that meeting before the date that someone needs to be in office to meet the deadline. And that would have been in our original, I'm guessing was in our original item that was a scheduled item that said we have this vacancy and we're going to need to make a decision. I mean, these dates, I'm guessing were available, relevant. I realize some schedules are difficult for, things come up. Yes, absolutely. But this is an important one to be at. And I'm just looking to see if there was any further information that was provided that this was a circumstance that was extremely difficult to break, and not, in terms of why this person's not here to answer any questions. Is it sort of a routine?
No, go ahead. I want to get Alvin. I
Yeah.
want to get Becca in too.
I don't think that we have to go there. The reasons, this is someone who has apparently an extremely demanding job. It could be all sorts of reasons. I don't think the reason matters to the purposes of our decision.
I'm looking for fairness. That's all. I'm just trying
Yeah.
to understand for fairness
We
reasons.
base it on documents that we have in front. I think we can do it, even though we have one to listen to. The other one is not disadvantaged. That's all we need to say.
Mhm, mhm.
Alvin, do you or Becca, either one of you want to go next or have any comment to make?
Well, my comment, we need to move forward. I know it's hard to be at some of these things, but to me, it's like a job interview. You either gonna make that job interview or you're not gonna make it. And I don't think the company is gonna set up, they say, we're gonna schedule you something special because you can't make it tonight. I agree with what our other two directors are saying. Hey, you gotta be here. Tonight is the night to be here. I think this thing been posted a good time, so you can be here. So I'm for moving ahead, and
But to be clear, and it's not a requirement that. Just to be clear, we can, as the mayor was saying a few minutes ago, we don't even need to hear from the candidates tonight to make a decision based on the written materials they've given us. They've both given us the written materials, and just on that basis, we could make a decision. So, well, it's not a requirement to be here.
And since it's not a requirement, reading the material, qualified people and stuff, I'm ready to move tonight if the board ready.
Well, let me just make a comment. Becca, you have something to add?
I kind of second with Director Oglesby in that we received their letters and their CVs. And I think most of us that have read through them have probably already made a decision on who we would like to see occupy the position. I'm with Alvin. Let's move forward tonight. I don't know. I appreciate that Marianne showed up and that she's here to answer questions if we have any. But I think moving forward is a good idea. And I think we have an idea of who we want in our minds already. Most of us do.
Mayor?
I would.
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought somebody.
I don't agree with that. I really do think that this is an opportunity for us to ask questions of candidates. And, I look at the two candidates that came forward with their CVs and resumes. And like was stated by the general manager, I do think we have two good candidates. And ideally, what would happen is I would have an opportunity to ask questions of both candidates tonight. I'm not coming with a preconceived, idea in my mind. I'd like the opportunity to ask questions about things that were in the letters and about their history and try to get an understanding of who our future colleague is and what they bring to the table. So I hope we're not just coming with a preconceived notion. The idea of tonight was to have a conversation with candidates. And I know from experience that, whatever you say and the conversation that you have doesn't necessarily mean that that's what is being considered on the dais. And that is because people have preconceived notions. And I was on the losing end of that. So I want to be really clear. We're trying to make this a fair, and I think we have the opportunity to move forward tonight. I'm not saying that, but it's not because I showed up here with a preconceived notion, and I want to be very clear about that. Thank you very much.
Yes, Mayor.
Yeah, I don't think that's what we're saying. I know that's what was said. Right. But none of us has chosen the so-called, which way we're going to vote yet. But of course, after reading the documents, there's only a couple to read through. And of course, you're leaning towards someone. My only thing is, if we're moving forward, we need to be clear that you didn't need to be here for me to pick you or not. Right? That's all I'm saying. Now, of course, I want to hear from anybody that's here, but I don't want the person that, car trouble, family trouble, couldn't be here. And that's the only criteria. You were here, so you got picked. No, you need to be here. You could be here if you said something that could either get you over the line or could take you out of contention. So I'm looking to hear people, but that's all I was saying. I want, as a board, we need to be clear that it wasn't a requirement. Right? And so I'm ready to hear from people.
And just for clarification, the public announcement did say that the board would deliberate on the 20th, could schedule a special meeting, but intended to deliberate on the 20th, but it did not say candidates are expected to attend. So
I'd like to add a little bit of my thoughts. I think it's a little bit like, even like campaigning. You got the written material, then you go to the polls. And so you make your decision on that without ever having met the candidate. It happens all the time. So you do make some decision. That's part of our system. That's part of our culture. We do make decisions based on some written material without having an interaction with the individual we're talking about. That's all over the country on that. The thing that bothers me is that we're all pretty busy on what our lives require and what we do outside of this event. And to accommodate one person's point of view who's not here means, the whole system of people are kind of rescheduling their schedule for that. When that other person had an opportunity. All I'm saying is that I would like us to make a decision tonight with the clear understanding that let's assume a candidate is not in the audience. Could we make a decision on the information we have? Could we? And if we're in agreement that we can do that, then I think we ought to go forward.
It seems we are.
So then what do we do with the candidate that's in the audience? Just mute that person. I don't know,
So the chair, we'll open up the process and whoever's here, if a candidate is here, then they should be able to come up and say a few words. That's my point. The person that's not here would not be a disadvantage. No, that's all we need to say.
Well, and what I want to say is I think we can make a decision on the written material without the input up to a point, but still, I think we could even do that too.
We can, but we offer the opportunity to speak to us and answer questions, so we should afford
Okay.
them.
Okay,
Yeah.
so let's go to the next step, which is the candidate. Please come forward, introduce yourself and say what you want to say, and we may have some questions.
I am Mary Ann Gawain. I am a resident of Carmel Valley. I am the head of the Carmel Valley Association, which has the goal of preserving the beauty and is my mic working okay?
Yeah.
There's a little light on.
Light on.
Yeah, it's a light on and we've got talk and time remaining and okay, yeah. Our goal is to preserve beauty and rural character of Carmel Valley, and we are very concerned about the welfare of the Carmel River ecosystem from ridgeline to ridgeline, or the whole of the river. I'm also active in the League of Women Voters, and that's where I mentioned in my written comment that I had the privilege of hearing Dave Stolt and starting to get a little tuned into some of this stuff. I just would go back and tell a story from my grad school days. As I explained to you, I have been quite interested in regulatory policy and regulated utilities all along. And we're all old enough to remember the story, The Graduate, and how the guy said plastics. We had a very distinguished professor, Professor Zeckhauser, in my graduate school, and he looked at the class and he said, water, and so I actually haven't had an opportunity to focus on water. I did electric utility regulation, but I would be very interested in that. And I've learned some of it, had some orientation through the league also with George Wiley, who's active there in educating us. But I would like to, since I have an opportunity to speak to you, I would like to address my passion. I see that this is a group where emotion counts and commitment counts. I live in the family home that was my home to my family for 70 years. And that's where I was brought as a baby. And so I saw the really, really tough times for the river. And my family was deeply disturbed. My older brothers are 13 and 14 years older than I am. And that was a fishable, healthy river. And so it was a lonely, sad time in the 60s before we started having Earth Day and the environmental movement. And it was just that feeling like, what can you do? And you see this and you don't know what can be done. And so it's so important to me what the water district has been able to accomplish. And I have taken advantage of it I have come over for the seminars and I have a water tank and I have my catchment. And I've learned about gray water. I haven't implemented it yet, but I'm just so proud for our community of what you've been able to achieve and the kind of water conservation we've been able to achieve, as well as, of course, the recycled water. So it's such a story for me of hope. I know that there's plenty in front of the water district. I've followed, the decisions of LAFCO. I certainly am aware of the decisions that came out of the PUC about the water demand and like crazy things like, let's just invert some figures and take 90 acre feet away from people and just other shoddy stuff like that. So yeah, I tried to get into the weeds there. I did try to read the decision. I would have a lot to learn. But as I say, I feel also another thing that is true from my having viewed this trajectory over many decades is that when I grew up in Carmel Valley, it was a more mixed community. My neighbor across the street was a trash hauler, and 2 doors down was a single mom who was a bus driver, and was just a much more mixed kind of community. So I am excited to think that some of this water would be directed to some of the affordable housing that we know that we need here. So I'm excited. I see it as a time of hope, and I know the challenges are big. I would love to bring, I think I have critical thinking skills. And the other thing that I think that I have is you can see that I am engaged with the community. I know that having trust in the community is something important. And I think I would be a credible ambassador for the perspectives of the Water Board. So do you have some questions for me?
All right. Are there questions?
There's somebody else.
Questions or comments?
Comments. I mean, mine are just comments because I was writing things down as you were speaking. As someone who also lives in the watershed, it would be wonderful for me to have a colleague on this board who lives on the Carmel River as well, and has that history, because it's something I feel like I'm constantly thinking of when I sit in this chair, is the whole complete picture, and knowing mostly from not just the firsthand experience on the river and seeing the lifespan and what's happened, but learning from the district and learning from Thomas Christensen in particular about where we were in the 1960s, which you saw firsthand, where we were in the 1970s. That's when I came along, but I was too young to remember. But then I do remember the 70s and the 80s, late 70s and the 1980s. And it has been a story of recovery and resilience. And so I just really want to say how appreciative I am that you came here tonight and spoke about the river, and not to sound like I'm like still living in the past and have PTSD and resentment, but I came and talked about the river too when I was here back in the day. My bitch. And so, no, I just want to say that I really do appreciate that, because that's at the heart of this work. That's our water supply. It's the lifeblood, the heartbeat of what we do and how we exist on the Monterey Peninsula. So thank you for that. And I just also want to comment that New Water gives me hope too, and the opportunity to make our whole community more sustainable again. And you remembering that from your childhood is what I remember as well. People could live here. And that's the hope that I have for the future. So I just really do appreciate the comments that you made. And that's what I'd like to say.
I would like to make one more comment that I think is important for transparency. So my family's been on this property for a long time. We do own a lot of record. And so someday, were water available, perhaps I would do something. Perhaps I have a vision of an affordable ADU on that property. I want to say that, but I actually think that is another reason that gives me credibility participating, because I do understand that people are looking for the lifting of the CDO and that people want that water, and that there's 2,250 acres coming our way. Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Any
others? Okay.
Thank you very much. Your comments were very interesting. Since you worked at the Massachusetts Utility Commission on electric, do you have any observations on similarities or differences between the two commissions, California and Massachusetts?
No, because I mean, I was on the actual state, I was actually present on the state commission, and here I'm only an observer. And so I wouldn't have that inside view, but all I can say is that critical, close reading of materials submitted by the regulated utilities is essential. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, we saw some.
What was your role exactly?
So I was in the electric power division, and so we were looking at the rate cases. So you're looking, at the return on investment of the different plants, and then you're looking at the variable costs. In that case, it's about fuel supply and the different power. And also, like, this really dates me, but I got out just in time for Enron. Really close, like we were seeing the early days of Enron. So yeah, that I would say is a wake up call. As they say, you really need to trust but verify, I would say. What public utilities are telling us.
That's about the same time I got involved in utilities regulation, a little before
Okay.
I forgot what I was going to say. So you were an analyst?
Yes.
An analyst of
Yes.
the rate cases?
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. And how long did you work there?
Just 2.5 years, something like that.
Yeah. Well, it's good experience.
Yes, it was good.
Could I just halt for a minute? Is there noise behind that door or something?
It's me.
No, it's
Too
just,
close. I'm too
Oh.
close.
Oh,
Okay.
you are.
Yeah,
too close to
yeah.
the mic. Okay, I didn't know what the system was.
Oh.
Yeah, I was wondering where all that was coming from.
Okay. I'll reveal one more thing about myself and my passions. So I'm very excited that I will be talking to 2 sections of a class at CSUMB about the importance of voting. Now, today was the last day to register to vote, but we will be talking to them about provisional voting. So I am prepping for that. So if you would like me, as soon as you'd like me to leave the room, I'm going to leave the room and go prep for the class.
Well, John, anyway,
We're gonna let Alvin or someone else go first. No, go ahead. Thank you so much. I definitely can hear the passion about where you live and where you're from and the Carmel River. We got all that part. But what else about the district that interests you? We have a lot to do at the district. So tell me about, the way you look at the other parts of the district. Because we're doing a lot more than just saving the Carmel River, right?
Right. Well, that's
No, I appreciate all that. I appreciate all that. But the other things that we do, you may be interested in that also.
I
just
am,
get your
and
chance to-
that's what I say. I mean, I think that your role in educating people about water usage and water conservation. I mean, I came over from Carmel Valley and I participated in that, but obviously that's something that we're seeing people throughout the peninsula participate in that. And that is why the reasons why you've had this success where we look at these incredible improvement in water usage. So I really believe in that mission as well. And the larger project, I mean, I am concerned about affordability of water for everyone. Again, maybe it's a little bit the valley perspective, but we have these very high insurance rates. So I'm looking at things that add to the cost of living for people just living here. And there's the insurance. And then I look at my own water bill, and I am very concerned about desal that would not be timed properly or sized properly, because that is very, very costly water. I feel it's something that the more we communicate with the community, and whether I'm on the board or not, that's something that I would communicate. So I can't say, I said I would be an ambassador, but really I believe in what you're doing. And I think I'm communicating that all the time anyway. But I feel like the desal is something where we should really be able to come together, because anybody who thinks this is some kind of a magic solution is simply not appreciating the costs, which I understand have not even been updated for many years. And the idea of prematurely putting something like that in service. And a point that I've heard raised less, but I'm starting to think about, is that, with these data centers putting this incredible demand on our power system, that's going to be more expensive than ever too. And desal is so energy intensive. So anything that we can do, like waiting a decade, let's see what we can get in place for something greener for energy or whatever. This would serve the whole community so much better. And so again, with it's just not the valley, but there are many people here who would be paying for something that they don't need in their lifetime, if we're just frank about that. So I guess that's something that I think speaks to the needs of the entire community.
well, yes, I'm sorry that I forgot about you, Ellen.
Well, no,
it just came to me. You've been on the peninsula for, in the valley for how long?
Well, I was born and taken home from the hospital that was in Carmel, if you can believe it, which is now being developed into some condos. And so I grew up here, and then I went away to school, first in Pennsylvania, and then I got homesick. So I came back and finished at Stanford. And then I went to graduate school at Harvard at the public policy school. And then I got homesick and I came back and I did some more graduate work at Berkeley. And then I married, and so I raised my kids in New York, and I've spent a lot of time there, but don't think I was away long. And I would just like, do I have, how many?
No,
Can I tell you one more story? Because when my daughter was in first grade, she said, like, what does this mean? Somebody's like Italian American or whatever. And I said, well, your friend Lisa is Japanese American because her family comes from Japan. Her parents were born in Japan. And your friend Tatiana is Haitian American because her family came from Haiti. And she said, oh, I'm Californian American. I'm like, oh. So I'm so fortunate compared to my peers who grew up here and did not bring their kids home. Their kids like don't have the same sense of coming home. And my kids are members of the CVA and very involved and following all the stuff. And so, yeah, this is really our family home.
okay. The reason I ask is because I read your resume here, and it doesn't say anything about your education. It's telling me about what's going on right now. And that's one thing I liked about it. It's telling me about the PUC. It's telling me about DSAL. So those things in here that I really appreciate you putting in for us to read, because it tell me how far off you have to be brought up to where we at now. And it seemed like what I was reading in this, you're there. You're there. So, and I was wondering if somebody helped you, because you right on spot.
Thank you very much. I did not rely on AI for my letter.
Okay, not AI. I'm talking about George.
No one else saw it before I
Okay,
submitted it to the board. No,
Just thinking about it, but I like what
That's
you wrote
very
and how
nice.
you wrote it. So
thank you.
thank you.
Well,
I'll say something.
yes.
For 30 seconds. No, I just want to appreciate what Alvin said is, I've been appointed to a few boards myself, and that's how you come prepared. You come prepared, and besides the passion and the knowledge that you already know, you came prepared. So I want to second what Alvin said. Thank you so much.
Well, thank you.
And Rebecca, did you have a question at all? Where did Rebecca go?
No, I'm here. Sorry, I had a thing I had to do. Had to plug in my phone. I am here and I don't have any questions, but Marianne, thank you so much for coming and sharing your passion with us. I appreciate the trek that you made for us.
Honors.
Thank you. Thank you,
So-
Rebecca.
Okay, I'm
Well,
gonna go prep for my class.
I would entertain a motion to select Marianne Gawain as the appointee for District 5. If anybody's willing to make the motion. Oh, I'm sorry.
So just going through the process here, you've heard from the only candidate that's in the room. You're now closing candidate speeches, and now you can deliberate and then recommend a candidate to then vote upon.
Okay, so we'll close the interaction with the candidate and back to the board. And then, so then I still repeat what I say. I'm.
So since no other candidates are speaking, she does not have to leave the room unless she wants
I know,
to. So
she's got a big agenda.
Well, when the candidate, if they're selected, when are they sworn in?
So this swearing in will be arranged with Sarah. It can be done in advance of the November meeting, but the first meeting would be November 17th.
So,
And that was covered in the agenda, the material, the agenda report.
so is it appropriate to have public comment on this?
No public comment, because this is a candidate, and you just have to deliberate amongst yourselves and then select and vote.
Okay, so we've closed the candidate interaction. We're going to be back on the board. I'm open to a motion to appoint Marianne Gawain Is there anyone prepared to do that?
Well,
So moved.
Or I will.
well, you just made it.
Yeah,
Um,
I was
you
gonna
did-
I
second
made
it.
the motion. All right.
You just made it.
Make the motion.
You had a
to appoint
second.
Mary Ann Gawain.
And then we'll do a roll call vote.
Okay. Motion and second to appoint Mary Ann Gawain, roll call vote.
Director Daniels,
Aye.
Director Edwards,
Aye.
Director Lindor,
Aye.
Director Paul,
Yes.
Vice Chair Oglesby,
Aye.
Chair Riley.
Aye. Motion carries
Motion
unanimously.
carried, yes.
All right, well, thank everybody and persevering. Do we want to jump into the agenda? Or do we want a 3-minute break?
Go home. Gotta get out of it. Let's go.
Okay, let's go.
Yeah.
Okay. Item, the next is the consent calendar, 2 through 8. These have all been discussed in the Admin and Finance Committee with the recommendation for approval. So is there a motion to accept the consent calendar?
So moved.
Second,
Any discussion?
that was Rebecca on the second.
Oh, Rebecca on the second. Thanks for pointing. Any comments from the public?
Chair Riley, I see no raised hands.
Okay, moving the second to accept the consent calendar. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Roll call. Roll call. Sorry, roll call.
Aye.
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 Yes.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, General Manager's report, item 9.
Try to be quick, but we did just close out a water year, so there's a little additional information, but we'll go ahead as Sarah's pulling this up. It's been a busy month, the month of October, and I included a couple of photos that you probably have in your printout, but I'll put them up on the screen for the benefit of our public. We started October 2nd with the ribbon cutting event for Pure Water Monterey. This is a scene from inside the tent. Right in front of the camera is John Lear's head and Director Paul's hair and Stephanie Locke, our Water Demand Division manager. And the speaker is one of the State Water Board directors, Dee Adamo, and it was also attended by Sean McGuire, a director, a board member of the State Water Board. 2 days later, there was a public open house on Saturday, and our Assistant General Manager, Mike McCullough, served as one of the tour guides. And it was a very well-attended event. Multiple groups went through. Hopefully some of the public listening tonight might have been among them. Then there was a employee appreciation luncheon on Monday the 6th, for which I had no photos. So it was Hawaiian themed and very well attended. We had several of our employees who had been involved with the project attended. And then on October 11th, we had Mulch Madness. You know, mulch is a moisture containing landscape item. And so it minimizes or it reduces the amount of irrigation you need for any of your planter beds. And this was held up actually right outside of Monterey and One Water's regional treatment facility. And that's our employee Kyle Smith in the green, carrying an official clipboard, checking to make sure people were primarily within the district and benefited. And this was a joint event with CalAm. Now moving into. Well, what was great about it is the North Marina site has really succeeded in composting and using natural chipping and so forth. So it's not like we're importing bark chips from Oregon to fill. It's kind of a locally produced and locally consumed product. So we close out our water year. This is the monthly production from all sources for customer service, which is what we use as a measurement of how much water you have to feed the system to feed your customers. And as you can see, we finished the year at 9,092
The
acre
date's
feet.
wrong?
Pardon?
Are the dates supposed to be 4 and 5? Or 5 and 6 like they are?
They should be 4 and
Okay,
5.
got it.
John's just getting ready for next year.
Next year, got it,
Already.
got it.
Good catch, by the way. So we're up 120 acre feet from last year, and we kind of predicted that through the reports on a monthly basis. We were always running about 140, 130 ahead of last year. A lot of that has to do with when the drier weather hit for irrigation. But all in all, that 9,000 number is still a low number and did reduce the 5-year average, which we'll talk about in a minute. Next slide. This is the last 10 years of where the water has come from to serve the customers. Orange is the Carmel River. Gray is table 13, which is on the river during winter months. Yellow is Malpaso, which is up to about 85 potential acre feet that comes from the river due to that entitlement that the district helped write the ordinance to free up. Blue is the seaside native water, which would also include water served by others. You know, we serve Montage with a couple of transferred alternative pumper water from the Seaside Basin, as well as going forward, Seagrove will also be served through Seaside's stored water credits. And then the dark blue is Pure Water Monterey, and you can see its important impact over the last 5 years. The first year was not a full year, but certainly had an impact. And what it jumped past was the green from ASR. So that's taken out of the ASR. And you can see we've only tapped it once in the last 5 years. And that was because of balancing the river withdrawals. Remember that Kelheim had a little bit of an off year that we were concerned about, where they didn't really leverage their full water right. And that was made up for withdrawals from ASR, but it wasn't necessary. Ever since Pure Water Monterey came online, ASR has moved from a primary source to basically a drought reserve, and all the regulators have gone along with that. So it used to be, in the previous regime, water that was put into the ground in a winter had to come out the next summer up to about 1,500 acre feet. And so if you had a very, very good year, which we did in, say, for example, 2017, we didn't take it all up that same water year. But generally, that was the protocol until Pure Water Monterey came online, and now we had alternate sources. And then Sand City desals, the little red on top. So you can see the changing nature of the resources as a result of Pure Water Monterey coming online. Next slide, please. Overall, the continued decline, but you can see the little uptick between last year and this year, that 120 acre feet. But we still remain in a mode where our 10-year average has been 9,467 acre feet. The 5-year average actually went down to 9,245. The previous 5-year average, so before this year closed out, was 9,405. So almost a 200 acre foot difference by taking off the 6th year ago and replacing it with the most recent year.
This is demand.
That's demand.
Okay.
And the next slide is rainfall. We ended up a below normal year statistically by about a ½ inch of rain. Otherwise, it would have been normal. And the last slide, or it's not the last slide, but the next slide. This is unimpaired stream flow, the 34,000 acre feet, also statistically ended up below normal. So it was a below normal year. But the next slide I think you'll find interesting, and this is the last 30 years with just simply a focus on how much water is beneath the Carmel River in storage at May 1 of each of those years. And the third column is the type of water year. And what you'll notice from this is all over the page, dry years, critically dry years, wet years, normal years, there's not much variation. So we end up getting like 2 good weeks in December or 3 good weeks in December, or, you know, a week in December and 2 weeks in January. the aquifer itself tends to fill up. And that's why you can see at the right-hand column that there's only been 2 May 1sts that were below 90% full. And so what this also means is on average, so if you averaged all 30 years of the red column, the right-hand column, there's about 8 years worth of CalAm's water right that sits in storage on average. And even during the drought years, the 4 years of 2012, 13, 14, 15, which were dry, critically dry, and below normal, the average that was in storage at May 1 of those drought years
84.
was still about 7 years worth of the water right. So what this means is even during drought, there's a high likelihood that CalAm will be able to meet its Carmel River water right significantly, which is part of the whole discussion that we'll have at a later item about cease and desist order and some of the concern that was expressed by the Public Utilities Commission over, well, it looks pretty good today, and this is State Water Board will have the same kind of interest. Well, it looks like you've got enough water for the near term, but what happens in a drought? Well, and the message here is that this water flowing in a known and definite channel under the ground, which is the Carmel River, seems to be pretty self-protective against drought. Certainly couldn't handle a 10-year drought, but you could very likely handle a 5-year drought with very little regard to having to stay off the river. Not that you want to, you don't want to drain all the storage, but the point is that it tends to refill itself even in the worst of times. And then that's graphed on the next page, and this is on a water year basis, but it's you can see in the winter the storage fills up, it gets drained in the summer, then you hit a winter, it tends to fill up again. But you can see in the 2012, 13, 14, 15 year period where the low points were a little lower, but we're still way up there in the 24,000 acre feet range, which is why I say there's, even in those bad years, there's 7 years worth of water sitting in the storage. So those are just some takeaways from what our last water year brought us, and I'll take any questions. Otherwise, we'll move to the next one.
Chair, can I ask? a
Yes,
question?
sorry.
This is kind of a gross question. It just came to mind, but is there any concern with all of, well, it's not a huge amount, but there's a movement along the river to go away from septic and toward
Yeah.
sewer? Are we concerned, not that that's the water I want to be refilling the basin, but with taking that water out?
Yeah, there will be an impact. Ron Cheshire, who sat on this board years and years and years ago, probably
Yeah, I was waiting.
used to say, well, we're all drinking recycled water because of that point, which is.
That wasn't my point.
No. But there was a lot of, I won't say a lot of recharge, but you are seeing like the connection of Carmel Valley Manor. So they'll get off septic. There's individuals from Quail that were septic. One house is now connected. All Saints is connected. So it will have an impact, but it's not a significant impact. I'm sure Elise is going to tell us something about that during public comment on this item.
Thank you. That's great.
Okay, we'll open the public comment.
I'm not going to touch that one. No, I had a question about the storage figures that you were showing, because when we go up to, I'm wondering about the impact of wells on that and those figurings, because I know that when we go up in the summer to rescue steelhead, it's not just the main stem, but it's also the creeks, the feeder creeks that are quite important, and the tributaries. And so in my experience doing that is
is we can be up there and see lots of juvenile fish swimming around there. And then we have a hot summer week. And then the next week we'll go up and that we haven't rescued are dead because the water's gone. So we have a lot of drawing, and we also have homes in Sleepy Hollow and behind Garland Ranch where when they go up for sale, they say abundant water use. Abundant water. We have unlimited because it comes out of wells. We have additional property, 5 units that were just sold behind the Hacienda Hay and Feed, and they're planning on taking 2.85 acre feet of water for each of 9 lots. So there's more water being pulled out, and I'm wondering how those things are factored into your figures.
Yeah.
Yes,
good
okay. We'll do the second one first. The Spanos compound, which is the old Walter property behind Hay and Feed, used to pull water. Used to pull about 9.5 acre feet. And so all this is doing is replacing some of the water that was previously being pulled out of the river. And because we now have in place a consumptive use mechanism, which means you can't just take what you used to pump. You're limited to taking only what used to be consumptively used. So if you had a lot of irrigation like alfalfa, about 70% of the water would be used and the other 30% would find its way back in. You pave over the land or you serve only houses and paved spaces, 100% is utilized. And so you're not getting that return flow. So some of these developments are worse than they used to be, but we've moved the calculation to consumptive use to kind of equilibrate that. And then we also agreed with the county through their general plan that if you're moving from raw land to multiple houses, meaning not just a house for yourself, that you're going to give up or sacrifice a portion of your pumping right to the benefit of the river. So those developments have been kind of, even with developing houses, actually tip the scales in the direction of the environment. The earlier question is, can be answered by, I have never seen a steelhead or Pacific lamprey prove that they can swim underground. So the water is there, but if you're drying up, and it's not just the tribs, even the main stem will dry up. And, we've been rescuing all summer long, or we had been. And so there are places on the main stem, but that water that we talk about in storage is still there. If you went at it hard in July and August, you could create a dry up event overnight, which has happened in the past, and there's been regulatory response in the past. So that, the theory has to be kind of balanced against the practice that even though the water's there, you don't want to crank up every pump 3 days straight in August, car week or whatever. But you can still manage your water right to use it in the spring or use it in the winter, do the best you can to balance it out without affecting stream flow.
That's so hurtful. So is there anything that would stop people in July and August from just cranking it up and?
Not the individual pumpers, because they're not regulated. So.
Other conversation. Thank you very much.
All right. And normally we don't want to have an interaction between a public comment and too much time anyway, but take as little time as we can. So still the public comments. Okay, go ahead.
I'm back. I'm very encouraged by this report of the Monterey One contribution to the sustainability of the water usage. And for 10 years of this last slide you used, I represented a 600-acre ranch on Laurel Strait, the A.B. Fleming Ranch. And Robert Van Horn, who worked for Monterey County back in the day, we had 2 ongoing year-round water sources that were streams and not wellheads, streams. And we would collect the water, he would test the water, and I learned through him that that water was coming from Yosemite. And he said it was the purest water that he had actually ever tested, including down Big Surway. So I learned that water has this very powerful way to pass underground up and through. And I think we're blessed here in the Monterey Peninsula. And this slide shows, even in the driest years, there's really been some maintenance over a long period of time of our aquifer underneath. And so it's time we let Monterey Water move forward and release some water so we can develop some of these vacant lots, and us property taxpayers can do something other than clear for fire every year, pay property tax, and walk around vacant land. So we're encouraged with what work you're doing and how much you're supporting this. The board's been so helpful, and let's move forward. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Any other public comment? I saw Tom, oh, you were standing up. I didn't know whether you were. Okay. Okay, well, that's the end of your report, General Manager.
It is.
Just, through the chair, if I may.
Yes.
Hey, Mike, Assistant General Manager, said it was a tape out there of Monterey One Water. It showed a video. I'm requesting that video be put on our YouTube so I can watch it.
That's, you mean the event of the day?
Yeah, the event or video or
Yeah.
whatever they showed about the project out there.
Yep.
There was the ribbon cutting? you're
Yeah,
talking about?
ribbon cutting and the plan itself, I guess, whatever was in that video,
Okay.
I like to put it out there to the
Okay.
public.
Good.
So, thank you, Chair.
Okay, thank you. And in the public report, we'll go to General Manager's report. Next, we'll go to the District Council report.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. So you'll find our written report on page 169 of the packet. It is a smaller litigation report because we've concluded quite a bit. So I'll just be very brief in where we're at. On our first case, this is the district versus Cal-Am. This is the district's effort to acquire the public ownership of water. The only update there is later this month, there's going to be a case management conference that's on October 28th. And that's going to be kind of clarifying the trial calendar as the matter proceeds. The second matter, this is the district versus LAFCO, challenging LAFCO's decision limiting the district's powers. The district's brief is due at the end of the month, but there's been no change in that case at this point. The third case, this is the City of Marina versus and the district versus the Coastal Commission. There's been no change in that case. We're waiting for a briefing schedule to be set, and we're working in coordination with the City Marina and Marina Coast Water. On matters before the Public Utilities Commission, the water purchase agreement, the only thing to report there is that the CPUC did make a correction to the decision to show the annual water supply for the Monterey Peninsula Water Supply Project to reflect the 11,204, and that's the revision that the district has agreed with. Skipping through the other cases that don't have any updates, I want to briefly touch on the Water District versus the State Water Resources Control Board. This is the case demand for attorney's fees. The Sierra Club did move to try to have that hearing set for January 29th. Cal-Am has indicated, who's the other party on with the district, that date doesn't work for them, so they're trying to move that hearing date to February. So we'll have a later update on to when that will be set. And then one case just to be aware of, the district isn't a named party, but this is the City of Marina and Marina Coast Water District versus Lone Star and Cal-Am. Your general manager, who received authority through the board, has been offering testimony, and that's going to be later this month, I believe. That concludes the litigation report. Next month we'll have a lot more to share, and we'll have that reflected both in the written material and the presentation.
I have two questions. On the item of the PUC where they made a correction of the number, is there any continuing action on that case, or are we out, is that done?
The applications for rehearing are still current.
Okay,
they're being
okay,
reviewed.
that's what
Yeah.
I thought there was a rehearing request, and I didn't know if this affected that.
Yeah, no, it does not impact that.
Okay, that's good. And then on the next to last one, with the Sierra Club, what's Cal-Am's interest in this case?
We were co-parties. So
Yeah, so Cal-Am and the district were both parties to it, so we're both potentially on the hook for the attorney's fees. The question that will be resolved at trial is if the Sierra Club was the successful party in terms of effectuating change, what would that split be between Cal-Am and us in terms of being the adverse parties? So they have a similar interest as we do, but their own set of facts and arguments that goes into legal strategy that I won't say out in public.
and there were other parties who were real parties of interest, but they're not on the hook for legal fees.
Okay, so it's only the district and Cal-Am are on the hook. for
Correct.
That. Okay, we'll hear more about that as it proceeds.
Possible on the hook.
Possible.
Possible, yeah.
Yes.
Possible.
Okay, great.
Hopefully not.
Make sure I'm listening.
Chair, I have one.
Okay, another question, comment?
Yeah, I have a question about the last item, the City of Marina case, the status. Now, tell me if I'm remembering correctly that the court referred that case to the State Water Board to determine some questions about water rights. right?
Correct.
And has the Water Board issued its opinion?
Yeah, so it's called a referral, and it was done probably now 3 months ago, 2.5, 3 months ago. It reads very interestingly, but the relief sought in the case doesn't necessarily apply to all of the conclusions that were reached or discussion that was covered in the referral itself. So it'll be interesting to see how Judge Silver addresses all of the information that's available relative to the claims that were made in the case itself.
Could Michael Laredo, could you send me a copy of the State Water Board's?
Yeah, well,
opinion?
we can go ahead and send that out to the board.
Yeah, yeah.
And any individual communications you want to have on that, we can certainly set that up.
Good.
Again, the important facts here are that the district is not a named party and that we are closely working with General Manager Stoltz to protect the district's interests through the deposition process. But I'll make sure that we send out that communication to each of you.
Yes, but there's reasons why we, the district, are monitoring this case.
Yes.
Because the outcome could have a bearing on the Coastal Commission's decision.
Yes.
Yeah. Thank you. Yeah.
You're welcome.
Okay. Thank you, counsel. Unless there are more questions from the board or comments, okay. Any public comment on,
Stephanie's ready.
Chair Riley, I see no raised hands.
okay. Next item on the agenda is the director's reports. Any trips or conference information you attended or want to share? It's time for the board members to comment. I only have one thing. I went to the special districts dinner evening meeting about 2 weeks ago. There was nothing related to water and the peninsula and so on. The LAFCO report basically was there are a lot of annexations coming up in South County. And that's going to be their top priority for the next few months is trying to evaluate and recommend whatever they do in LAFCO to take it up. But it's three cities in South County. Nothing on the peninsula that I recall. Okay, that's the only report that I have. Anybody else have a report? Yeah.
I attended Seaside Watermaster. I had a little problem, so I wasn't there in person, so I couldn't vote. But they approved the Seaside seawater intrusion plan. They approved it. And like I said, if I was there able to vote, I would have made the motion to vote on that. So it was good. So that was the meeting I attended and it was approved. So they're moving forward.
Moving forward. Good to hear.
Right.
Good to hear. Anybody else on a director's report? Okay. I include Becca if necessary. No, she's been on the medical side.
Yeah, sorry, I've been doing physical therapy. But I
So,
go past the water board the water
Right.
management district every day.
And Mr. Chair, just for the benefit of our friends at KSBW, I'm assuming the item that they're here for is item 14, and we are on item 13. So,
We're
I mean,
on
we're
12.
we're just about done with item 12. Oh, no, we're starting
No.
they're here for item 13, I would imagine. Yeah. So they're one away.
All right, we're getting close then. Okay, item 12 is the first reading of ordinance 199. Have a staff report.
Thank you. And I will make this fairly brief. Thank you, Sarah. So this is the first reading of ordinance 199, which amends rule 142.1, which is our water efficient landscape ordinance. And do we not have the PowerPoint working?
Yes, just one.
Okay, thanks.
Looks like I'm having some issues, so I'll keep working with the file.
Okay, well then let me go ahead and start because I only have 4 slides on this. So ordinance number
Yeah.
199, state law required adoption of a landscape ordinance in 2016 that was at least as effective as the state's model landscape ordinance. And the state has had landscape requirements in place since the early 2000s. They did a massive revision in 2015 and required every jurisdiction to adopt at least their ordinance or something that was better than what they had prepared. The district adopted ordinance number 172 in 2016, and that added rule 142.1, the water efficiency landscape requirements, to our rules and regulations. So the district enforces permits, enforces, and reports on all landscape permits that require permits within the district. And you can go to the 3rd slide, please. Thank you. So ordinance number 199 that you're considering this evening implements recent changes to the state's model water efficient landscape ordinance. The state has been going through a process for the last 4 or 5 years to simplify what they have as far as process and also clarify the procedures. So when I had an opportunity to review what has come before the state at this point, I thought that this makes much more sense than what we have in our current rules. Ordinance number 199 actually replaces our existing rule with a simplified version. In addition, it moves all landscape water use references that were remaining in Rule 24 to the Rule 142.1, which is the landscape rules. The requirements apply to new construction, which includes landscaped areas over 500 square feet, rehabilitated landscapes that are greater than 2,500 square feet, and what we've added that is a little bit beyond what the state requirements were are landscape projects that are undertaken within a year of completion of construction projects to catch these people that are slipping through the cracks right now, which includes landscapes that have to be repaired because of
of unintended damage. In other words, they plan to do a remodel project or a addition project, and then they end up running over the entire landscape, have to redo the entire thing. So we want to make sure that all of those landscapes get caught up in our water efficient landscape requirements. Ordinance number 199 is exempt from review under CEQA pursuant to CEQA guidelines section 15307. The ordinance was supported unanimously by the Water Demand Committee, and our technical advisory committee has had an opportunity to review and comment on that. I did not receive any comments. And this evening, the board should conduct a public hearing before moving ordinance number 199 to second reading next month. And that concludes my presentation.
Thank you, Stephanie. Any questions from the board?
I do. I'm not on either of the committees that got to see it, so indulge me. Just super quick question. So the state provided the new language. They had provided an opportunity to simplify and clarify. Is that what you had said?
The state has amended and is amending their model water efficient landscape ordinance, which is what we used as the basis for our ordinance. And incidentally, I worked when I was adopting our 2016 ordinance, worked with Anna Jeanette at the county because the county was looking at its ordinance. So we coordinated together to come up with the district's ordinance. And the district is the regional entity that permits and reports the state on compliance with their ordinance. So our ordinance is actually more effective than the state ordinance.
Great. And then just super quick, the strikeouts that I see on page 4 and 5 and the italicized content, is that the change? Is that all the change we're talking about?
No. So
Okay.
the strikeouts that you're seeing on page 4 and 5 are related to rules 11, which are definitions. So there's some amendments to the definitions, and rule 24, which is where I said there's this remnant language about landscapes that's in a rule that should all now be in rule 142.1, which is the landscape ordinance. But section 5 of the ordinance, so we're deleting entirely what we have right now in rule 142.1, and we're replacing it with what you see going forward in this ordinance from pages 6 through whatever page it ends up on, the end of the packet I wrote.
Section 5. So
Yeah.
even though that's not in italicization, that is the
It
new.
is all replacement language.
Okay,
yes.
good. Now I'm not confused. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
And my only comment is it takes 50 pages to clarify. And
It's
so-
replacing.
Okay. Just a dig.
It's all right.
Received.
Okay, so this is a first reading, so.
Public comment and then motion to move to second.
Okay, so we have, can we have a motion to move to the second?
Public comments first.
I'm sorry, you're right. I'm in too much of a hurry. So no more board comments, open to the public. Anybody online?
Chair Riley, I see
Right.
raised hands.
Okay, back to the board. So
Sorry.
question is
Glowing.
our action, which is to pass it on the first reading.
That is correct. You'd be looking for a motion to approve the first reading and have it go for second reading next month.
So moved.
Second. Get the mayor in.
And we'll do a roll call.
Director Daniels,
Aye.
Director Edwards,
Aye.
Director Lindor,
Aye.
Director Paul,
Yes.
Vice Chair Oglesby,
Aye.
Chair Riley.
Aye. Motion carries.
Motions, yes.
Sorry. Okay, now, item number 13, the filing an application for modification of the cease and desist order.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I did not prepare a PowerPoint because I want you to read the narrative. I think it tells our story very clearly. And this is a story that's not about water supply, yes, or water supply, no. It's not about a desal plant. It's about an opportunity. It's about a window of opportunity to loosen restrictions on setting of meters here in favor of jobs and housing. And what this is, in a nutshell, is an application to the State Water Board under Section 1832 of the State Water Code, which says any aggrieved party may request a modification to an existing cease and desist order. Well, what is the cease and desist order? Again, under the Water Code, under Section 1831, it's an enforcement tool. It's not in and of itself a statement of what the violation is. It's a tool to enforce behavior. The actual behavior is related to Section 1052 of the Water Code, which deals with trespass. And trespass under the code is utilizing or extracting more water than you have a legal right to take. And the issue of trespass and the way it's written in the code is a cease and desist order may be issued if there's a current or threatened violation of trespass. Well, the current part's really easy to solve. We know we're not in trespass because we see the actual data. You were presented the most recent water year data here earlier. And what we've learned is since the addition of Pure Water Monterey base project, California American Water has not been in trespass for the last 4 years. So there is no current trespass. Threatened is a poorly defined and less objective measure. And typically on the wastewater side, it means a clear and present danger to public health or safety. On the water side, it can mean something different. What's the likelihood that you're going to need to access the river for water for purposes of serving your customers beyond your legal water right? And is that something that's in the near foreseeable future likely to happen? Well, our response to that was answered by the Public Utilities Commission on August 14th when they issued their supply and demand final decision as modified by a follow-up decision on the typo on October 8th. And they really only came to a conclusion on 2 items. Item 1 is future demand in the year 2050, so 25 years from now, is projected to be 13,732 acre feet in the future. The second thing they ruled on is current supply in the absence of the proposed desalination plant is 11,204 acre feet. The Public Utilities Commission did not go so far as to say how much water is being used today, but that's a pretty straightforward answer as well. You just look at last year or the prior year. And earlier today, I told you that the 5-year average is now 9,245 acre feet. So you have a starting point. In 25 years, you have an ending point. And then you have a straight line of how much supply is available if no new supplies are added. And you can look and you see a graphic in the application that says, oh, those lines cross in about 11 years. And then there's a second graphic that says if you optimize storage of the difference of the surplus in the early years, put it all in the ground, then you would have sufficient water for 21 years. So our point to the state is there is no current violation, and there's, according to the PUC, accepted at face value, there's no expected violation until sometime possibly between 11 and 21 years. In our minds, not a reasonably foreseeable near-term potential violation or threatened violation. So we have this opportunity where every jurisdiction is trying to approve housing elements, foster housing, trying to get affordable housing, workplace housing. And we've got chambers of commerce and hospitality associations who want to see job creation, job formation. And the best way to do that is to take the guardrails off from what's called condition 2 which has survived since the 2009 cease and desist order in its same format through the 2016 amended cease and desist order. And condition 2 says no new service connections and no increase in use at an existing service connection due to a change in zoning or use. That second piece has been loosely or poorly interpreted over time. Projects have gotten built, but it's really the first one, the no new service connections, is the key guardrail that we need to be loosened in order to move forward with housing and jobs. Well, what's a new service connection? It's the setting of a meter. So any raw land development that needs a meter, or any upzoning where you can't serve 20 apartments off a 5/8 inch meter and you need to upscale or upsize your meter, is currently prohibited. And so the goal here is to approach the state to say, no current violation, no threatened violation. Give us the local authority, take the guardrails off, see if we can handle prosperity. And instead of forecasting what the future might look like and then fighting about whose vision of the future is right, we can actually move into the future and then look backwards and say, how are we doing? Are we growing faster? Are we growing slower? And so our proposal includes the same quarterly reporting, actually cleaned up a little bit, but it'll keep the comfort level that state that they're still receiving the same information on a quarterly and annual basis. It will include triggers that are an early warning system, so the state can say, we've proposed kind of two triggers, one that says when my demand gets to be about 20% less or 80% total of my available supply, come back to the principal's office and explain yourselves. What are you going to do? And with that data every year, we would also be doing a little backcasting of the 5-year trailing growth rate and saying, okay, if you start where we are today and you take that 5-year trailing growth rate and project it into the future, when would those lines cross? When would we once again be at a supply deficit? So that gives you a measure of how quickly you might need an additional increment of water supply. And you'll notice in the application that we reaffirm that the district and CalAm together will continue all of our conservation programs, which have been so effective, that the district and CalAm or the district will continue to pursue small sources of supply, as we did with the Odella parcel, the Malpaso water, the Seaside Stored Water Credits for the Seagrove project and so forth, and the Montage water that we obtained. And we recognize that CalAm continues to pursue their desalination plant, which, as we presented it to folks, like most recently to the Monterey Peninsula Chamber of Commerce, even on the timeline that they're on, if they were able to clear all of their hurdles sometime next year, the 20 Coastal Commission permit conditions, you probably won't see that desal plant for 4 years best case. Do you want to wait another 4 years, or do you want to move today based on the information the Public Utilities Commission has put forward? So we're not closing the door to any future water supply. And the commission has said, hey, look, those lines do cross somewhere between 11 years and 21 years. So a new water supply is going to be needed if in fact those supply and demand forecasts bear out. But you won't be able to see them until you're able to grow, and you're able to grow once you lift the moratorium on setting of new meters. And as I said previously, that would give this community the chance to move forward and look backward instead of just prognosticate the future. So that's what we hope to do. General Counsel has signed off on the application that you see here. We have proposed a modification or a revised cease and desist order that was done at the request of staff at the state. Staff at the state also has requested us to wait until Friday to deliver it to them. So they have just a little more time to get some of their ducks in a row, because as soon as the application is received, we get into ex parte rules, and no longer can we discuss it. They can't discuss it with other parties either. So we will grant them that concession, and we'll send it overnight on Thursday and then email on Friday. And then we won't be able to have the very good, meaningful conversations that we were able to have in May and August and September of this year. But that's kind of what will happen. We anticipate that they may make additional requests for data. I won't say, an incomplete letter, but something like an incomplete letter may come that says, we'd like to get more of this, more of that. We already intend to file a supplemental packet with this application that includes some of the data surrounding the different water supply resources and so forth. We didn't burden you with that in this packet. Suffice to say, it's like a copy of the PUC's decision and then their modified decision and those kinds of things, just so they have a complete set of documents. And so your general manager's recommendation to you is to approve this and authorize applying to the state for the modification of the cease and desist order.
Thank you, General Manager. Questions and comments?
Thank you, Chair. Jim, I see in your letter to the state, you have a January 31st, 2026 to answer. That's our request, but do they have to? It's like the PUC, they can go out to limbo and, you never hear from them.
We are not expecting limbo, but we're also not expecting January 1st. That was an aspirational date. You may recall that we expected the final PUC decision back in May. We thought we'd be filing this in June. So the date hasn't really changed since May, but we've had some pretty good heart-to-heart conversations with, realistic expectations. They've got a very full plate in front of them. They've got some Bay Delta hearings. They've got some water rights issues in South San Joaquin. They have important business ahead of them, but they were doing their calendar planning kind of like right now for the next calendar year. And so we've interacted with them about what we think and when we thought we'd file. And they've said, maybe spring or early summer.
Okay, and one more question, Chair, if I may. We have water going into the ground now.
Mhm.
We been asking the cities to hold off until your big plans, until we get the expansion going. If I had a lot and I tore down my house, but that lot had a meter, can I build, or am I still restricted?
So if you have a meter, so it means in your case, a tear down, could be a remodel, could just be a bump out, whatever. The district's attitude is we have allocated the water to each of the jurisdictions. The jurisdictions have been a little slow in dealing with this allocation. And so each jurisdiction kind of has a different story depending on who you're talking to. And so our friend Michael, who's got a lot in Monterey, well, if he needs a new meter, he's going to have to wait for this action to be addressed. If it was a remodel with an existing meter in any of the jurisdictions, the district's attitude is we've given you water for that, but the cities are coming to grips with whether they want to release that water. And so I can't tell you what each individual city's current state of affairs is. Carmel had it on their city council meeting. You might have read it in the Pine Cone a week ago.
Read it in the Pine Cone, right.
Monterey has sent out some odd signals that we're trying to get to the root of. But we gave allocations to each of the jurisdictions representing a portion of the new Pure Water Monterey expansion water. in March of this year. So, and we did that so we could get the allocation out of the way so we could focus on this effort, which is really the bigger
Right.
effort.
Okay, thank you. That's all I have right now.
I have a question. We're making the application to the state. There's an effort, I think, or I thought, to recruit the committees to join us in this request. Can you?
Yeah, I'll elaborate on that. So we've been reaching out to industry organizations such as the Association of Realtors, the Hospitality Association, the Chambers of Commerce. We've also signaled to all of the city councils when we were talking the allocation policy that we'd be back to talk to them about the lifting of the condition 2 of the order. There are others. There's housing advocates that we will be talking to, land use advocates, both local and statewide, that we will be requesting letters of support. And that effort has been both in person and will be also via email. But that'll start in about 2 weeks.
Okay, good to hear. I was hearing something over the weekend, some city people I was talking to.
Oh, good. So people know we're coming.
Oh, that's good. Are there other questions from the board? Okay,
So
Supervisor, and you.
I just want to clarify something that was said earlier. If you have in any of the jurisdictions, including a city, a building with a meter that has a water allocation and you remodel that building, you still have your water allocation because you still have your fixture count.
Right.
Okay, so it's if you abandon it or time passes or it was a lot that was made empty prior to 95. I mean, these are all the sort of things that come into play.
And even beyond that, during the course of the cease and desist order being in place, so basically since October of 2009, we've had projects come through that would be an intensification of use.
Yeah.
And so we've had to deal with, okay, in the second part of the condition, so not the no new meters, but the no intensification of use at an existing service connection, can you do the project or not? And the state came up with the kind of a rule of thumb through its staff level, which is, well, if it was commercial and it remains commercial, no change in use. If it was residential, remains residential, no change in use. Well, then we had, well, what do you do if you go to mixed use? Or what if it's a mixed use project that was very little residential and now is primarily residential? And then we had projects that were, yeah, it was once commercial, but then it's been vacant for over a decade. Is that going from commercial to commercial, or is it going from vacant to commercial? So earlier I said it's not always been super clear how the second part of it had been dealt with, but many projects did move forward during that time because we used our normal permitting regime, and not all of the projects were reviewed by the state water board, but some were, and they just said it was commercial, remained commercial, no change in use. So those kind of things we're less concerned about. We're very concerned about the setting of new meters.
So I'm concerned about those things, but I do have some questions. So I just want to continue to ask those questions. I don't agree. I think that we need that flexibility. I mean, that is why we cannot comply with our housing elements. That is why we can't take opportunities within the allocations that we have, and we need that flexibility that is prohibited by condition 2. So it's not just the setting of new meters, but my question is, in this proposal, you remind me of the number that the on the supply side that we reach now with the Pure Water Monterey expansion coming online.
Yep. So in the district's view, it's 12,116 acre feet of available supply.
And was, if I remember correctly, when the CPUC determined that the supply and demand, they did not challenge the supply side. Is that accurate?
But they did a little bit. So they came up with the number of 11,204. And one would ask, oh, what's the difference? And I'll just touch on three simple.
Don't worry about that. No,
Okay.
because so even if you go with 11,204 in this proposal, is there that argument being made? Because we could do a lot with 11,204 water, that we are staying within there. I mean, is there a trigger and a monitor, or even if I rephrase it, an opportunity to make the request for this flexibility and staying under 11,204 acre feet, which we're not going to use at this point in time?
Absolutely. And that is the premise of this request. If we accept the PUC's outcome at face value,
Mhm.
whether you believe it or not, and there are 5 parties out there who still don't believe it, and it doesn't matter. Let's accept it. And if those outcomes, meaning 11,204 today without a desal plant, and our 9,245 5-year average of what we're using, yeah, you got a surplus today
Mhm.
with the expansion at full boat. And the expansion is going to take probably 6 months to get up to operations at the full amount, the 7.6 million gallon per day. But it's there. And so with the resources that are there, as defined by the Public Utilities Commission, are we in a position where there will not be a violation on the river? And the reasonable person's answer is yeah.
Yeah. That, I'm going to save the rest of my comments for after public comment, but that was my big question.
Okay, question, comment over there.
I think the application is well done, very well done. And I would like to suggest just deleting one word. One word. So on page 10, the next to last page of the draft, section 3, top of page 10, the heading that says CalAm is diligently pursuing development of an additional water supply. I don't have a problem with including that information. It's these are facts. It's a fact that CalAm is pursuing development of an additional water supply, the desal plant. But diligently is a judgment, and it's not necessary. I mean, if you take it out, you're still providing the facts about that. Diligently is a judgment. It's not necessary, and it could be misinterpreted down the road. What am I talking about? At some point, CalAm is going to be asking ratepayers to pay for all of the costs incurred with the desal plant, whether it's completed or not. And it'll be a question whether the CalAm was prudent
Reasonable or prudent.
in
Yeah.
spending all that money. And
Yeah.
this could be read as a judgment to support their arguments that it was all prudent. So that's why I'm suggesting, I mean, it's ambiguous, but it's not necessary. We don't need it. You could just take out that one word, and that'd be my suggestion.
Well,
Okay.
yeah, people agreeing with that?
No, I'm okay with it as a judgment, including a judgment factor in the factual component.
That the only one?
No, I agree with Director Paul as well. Diligently is a judgment word and might actually come back to, bounce back on us at some point.
So, do you have a comment
Yeah.
for or against or whatever?
No, I think it was a good catch. I mean, it's more than a judgment call. It's a fact.
Yeah.
I mean, because otherwise you didn't write that word without understanding what it meant, right? So that means you looked into it and you thought it was diligent. That's a statement.
Yeah.
And
It's
so
just,
it
I
would
was
come
throwing
back to
Josh a
bite it.
bone. That's all.
Yeah, no. I mean, no, it's not on you. You wrote the 10,000 words, right? But it was a good call.
That's a great call.
that word didn't be there. Other than that, it was an excellent application. What I want to just get to is a couple things from my own understanding. Did you say that, we keep going back with the PUC and what they say and whether we agree and we don't agree, but what they say matters, right? So if their numbers matter and their comments matter about there's enough water there, that's what I'm getting to, right? Because you say we're standing on some of their numbers, then it's hard for me to understand that 11 to 21 years from now, when would that drought have to start? I'm thinking today. Does that make sense? Is that when it?
Yeah, if you're going to have a 7 to 10 year drought that started today,
Well, but that's what I'm saying, right? To have the threat, because there's no current trespassing.
Yeah.
So for it to happen 11 to 21 years from now, the drought has to start today. Or it has to be terrible.
something bad would have to happen.
And
soon.
then it doesn't start, it has to get worse and worse
Yeah.
every day. To start in 11 years, that's what I'm trying to get to.
Yep.
Okay, all right. And so I'm trying to understand how Cal-Am is saying we shouldn't lift the CDO because we may have to go back and overdraft. But what Director Daniel said is, if you never lift it and you never start using the water, then how would you ever run out of it?
Yep.
And so it's hard for me to read their documents and say, well, we need the possibilities of having a desal, but you shouldn't lift the CDO, which would cause us to need a desal. If you're not using the water, then how would you need more water? Yeah, okay, I'm just trying to make sure I understand it right. So, I think I think we're there. We should be asking, we're not trespassing. If we're threatening the possibility of trespassing, that doesn't start until the drought starts and or we're using water, meaning lifting the CDO. You can't need water 11 years from now if you ain't using it today. So it's kind of like, was that forked tongue type conversations back in the day? Remember people say that? And so it gets to a point where they need, the CDO should be lifted, because if you're not currently violating.
Yep.
And if you don't lift it, then so I'm just agreeing with the application. I think it's well done. I think we did the work to get to this point where the water is continually, day by day, I think you said it earlier, being put in the basin. And so it's just growing day by day. And I don't think it would be the possibility of threatening, again, means you have to have less water coming in starting today. And until the less water starts coming in, it's 11 years after that, is my understanding. And so it makes perfect sense to lift the CDO as soon as possible so we can get these housings of record and affordable housing. And I want to add jobs and opportunities. Sometimes we leave that out, but people need to be able to grow their small business here and provide more local jobs on this peninsula. Thank you, Chair.
One more comment.
Okay, yes.
I think we owe it to the people we represent to ask that the CDO be lifted. It's been a very long, we're looking at a situation where we will soon have a surplus for quite a few years. It doesn't make sense to not allow that this water be used. And people have been waiting a very, very long time for that additional water that's finally here. And the proposal is very well thought through. You can, will have the data to keep track of how much is actually being used. And if you get anywhere near any danger zone, any risk of running short, you will have lots and lots of notice, which is necessary. It's several years of notice is necessary to bring in additional projects, but the proposal allows for plenty of notice. You'll be able to track the trends, and you'll be able
based on actual data every quarter, every year, real data, not projections, real data, which
Yeah.
you explained very well in the application. So I feel that we owe it to the people and businesses of the Monterey Peninsula to ask that it be lifted.
Sure.
Yes, okay.
So everyone's making their comments now, so I'm gonna just say a couple more things then before we
Okay.
go to public
Okay.
comment. I made the comment earlier when we had an applicant who was in the audience speaking, Mary Ann Gawain, and my comment about the river, because it's all about the river. I mean, the CDO and the situation that we're discussing tonight is all about the Carmel River. And condition 2, if I understand it correctly, even if we have different methodologies of counting, is that CalAm shall not divert water from the Carmel River for new service connections. And I am 100% certain that the 3376 is not going to be any of the new service connections, right? And we see how it's being used, and we see all the additional water supply that we have added to the system that is definitely going to be what is utilized for the new service connection. So I mean, even if they look at it differently and they say you can't say where it's coming from, I feel 100% certain it's not coming from the river, because we're using that 3376 first, and that's a needed supply. The second thing I want to say is that in this very same report, and since I've sat here for the last 10 months, we have never once extracted from ASR. We've only put in. And in your report, you said that it was not even a normal water year this year, and we still put in and we didn't take out. And this graph shows that we've consistently been doing that, with the exception of 2023, when it sounds like there was a hiccup. I don't know if anyone remembers what Mike McCullough said the other day, or the other month, whenever it was, but he made a comment about Marina and all of the housing that's been built in Marina. And he said that even though all that water has come online, the demand in Marina at the very same time has gone down. And that's because of all of the water conservation methodology, right? You sell a property, and when you sell it, you have to then change all the fixtures out. For the new owner has to put in the water saving fixtures. That's all stuff we're doing. So I also don't see the relationship between us trying to solve the housing problem and necessarily a huge demand in use, because of all the water conservation and the water saving that we all do together. I think that it is really important, though, that we do something different that we didn't do last time. I wasn't here with all of you when there was a pitch that was made to the State Water Board for water for housing and some flexibility. We're not asking just for flexibility, we're asking for some relief from condition 2. And I just, would ask that you look to this letter and respectfully request from the beginning, so our jurisdiction can comply with our housing goals. And I just cannot stress this enough, that the biggest challenge I have in District 5 is housing. And I am faced with phone calls that come into my office from my friends who are senior citizens who are living in their cars because of the housing crisis. This is something we not only have to address because of a state mandate, but we have to address because it's the right thing to do. And I think the state board is going to understand that if we're putting forward a proposal that's very factual and not political. I wouldn't even go after the jurisdictions and ask for those letters. I think this is about the Monterey Peninsula Water Management District asking for something that is the right thing to do and that is within our means. Even if you go with the CPUC's numbers, this is within our means. Not only are we definitely not going to trespass, there's no evidence that we're going to need to in any future. I wouldn't say 11 or 21, if we live within the means that the CPUC issued to us in that decision, which is that 11204 number. And so I just think it's a very clear factual argument, put the politics aside. Sounds like you've been having a conversation with them. That sounds like good news. Let's live within our means. Let's ask for this lifting of condition 2 and modification of condition 2 so we can not only comply with what the state is asking us to do with all of our housing elements, but so we can do the right thing. There isn't a chance in hell we're going to go into the Carmel River. Right? We can have all these questions about all of these other water supplies and their long-term viability. But we could say we're sticking within the state, your numbers, your CPUC's numbers of 11,204, and we can get all the flexibility we need with the new meters and the opportunity to rezone and the opportunity to put the multifamily housing where we have single family homes and do all the things that I think we want to do and that is the right thing to do. So I would just make sure we are making this request, continuing these conversations and doing it in a way that's not political, just it is factual. And let's do it as a district. Let's make this request and do whatever steps need to happen after we do that. Thank you.
And just before we go to the public, I remember at the ribbon cutting, the representative from the State Water Resources Control Board said it's time. He said it's time. Like we've done the work, we've spent the time, we've documented history, we can project ahead what our needs are. I think that they're complimenting us at the same time as saying it's time. So I just hope, Dave, you can keep the pressure on to say, come on, we're waiting. The whole community's waiting or whatever. But anyway, good so far. Good so far. I'm going to go to the public comment. Oh, I'm sorry.
Director.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah. Rebecca, you have a comment?
No comments. Thanks.
Okay. Thank you. We'll go to the public.
Hello, it's very nice to be here again, Michael Bona. I'd like to address off my public comment time, a comment you made to the general manager about what happens if a house has a meter and something happens to that house. What is Monterey Peninsula Water Management District's approach? Here's what it is. There's a live thing going on right now in Pacific Grove. Not too long ago, a house burnt down. The house burnt down beyond the ability to rebuild. They scraped it, put them through a permit process to rebuild. Where Monterey Peninsula Water Management District came in is they allocated only the water allocation that previously existed decades back that were of record to the rebuild, which is totally inadequate if you looked at what was there and what they can put back. As a result of that, that poor property owner has been sitting on the market for 424 days without a buyer because of the lack of water on a lot, the only one on the peninsula that has an actual meter that they could actually buy and build today, because even the water allotment at that time was inadequate. So that's a bad, this issue will fix that if you guys go forward. And I want to leave that at that, but that's how that works. So an existing meter is only as good with a increase beyond what was there. Fair? Okay. Now, I want to thank this.
Chair, was he on his 3 minutes?
He didn't exceed 3 minutes, no.
Did you just start it? He's been going? Okay.
All right, good. I was tracking 3 minutes too. You've got about a minute or 45 seconds to
Okay.
a minute.
I want to thank the board for all the hard work you're doing. I started here in '86 when Stephanie was actually inspecting toilets that I was selling real estate. And then our parents were my good clients when he built the River House. And he was a little boy, and now he's where he said, this board and the employees of this, we are blessed. I agree with everything your general manager and your district council has said. We are looking forward to seeing this go forth and hopefully support this movement to ask the PUC to remove this moratorium. So us who have been sitting on this land all this time can go on and move forward with building our homes and solving our personal family
Thank you.
issues. Thank you.
Yeah, good evening, Tom Raleigh. For full disclosure, I'm a Realtor, member of MCAR. I'm also a member of the Monterey Peninsula Chamber of Commerce Government Affairs Committee. I've heard the pitch from Mr. Stolt and Mr. McCullough twice. And based on the data that's presented, it sounds really, really dreamy. We're going to convince the state water resources that we've got plenty of water and it's, 9,000 so acre feet a year. Couple of things we raised, and I raised this at our realtors meeting, is that the consumption is going to go up significantly next year. Will it go up to 11,000? Nobody knows. So I guess it's sort of a dream that we get rid of this restriction for new meters. And the thing is, will we exceed, the 11,204, whatever it is, or whatever. But it seems to me that what we may dream and what the state water resources after, and I suggest Mr. Stolt mentioned the 5-hour meeting that the Carmel Chamber of Commerce had, in which the general manager of Monterey County Water Resources said, don't count on the water supply for the expansion of the recycling program past 2027. Now, whether that date's correct or not, I question that. And I have a note to go back and verify it. But he's saying this water that you're relying on to say you're going to have adequate water, the 11,240, may not all be there if it's used to relieve the shortage in the groundwater in the Salinas Valley. So there's certain things that are inadequate on the data that was presented. And if you believe it, if you believe all the data, it sounds very dreamy. We'll relieve, everybody will be able to build and we'll have plenty of water. But I think there's a shortfall and I think we will wait. And I'm sure that the general manager will input to the State Water Resources Control Board and on the same issues he raised at the city council in Carmel last week. So if I was you guys, if I was a director, I'd say come back next year, maybe mid-year, and see how water consumption's going, and then put a request in for modification. Because I can't see the state water resources based on their analysis at this point are going to agree. So I think you're premature. You're just getting the new expansion. It's just coming online. And so I think it's premature. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Tom.
Full of great topics for me today.
Elise Wyland again, Carmel River Watershed Conservancy. I won't ask questions so we don't have to engage again, but I'll say them as concerns. There are just a few concerns I have here. And when I was working in the staff of the County of Sonoma, I was a real advocate for affordable housing, so I understand the concerns and the desires to lift the CDO. When I was in the meeting chaired by Senator Laird with the Water Board, they were pretty darn clear. They said that when they saw the figures to show that we had adequate water supply for permanent replacement of the water coming out of the Carmel River, they would lift the CDO. It was very simple. They were like, if you show us the figures and you have enough water, we will lift it. So I'm concerned about going to them and saying, lift it, even if we don't have, if we don't have the figures that will satisfy you. Things that concern me, I brought up here tonight. I'm concerned about the unregulated well users that pull a lot of water out as soon as it gets hot, especially in the agriculture areas. So I don't think that those are factored in here. I'm concerned about the fact that it may be 4 years to create a desal plant. But my understanding is that it's been
many years in the making now, and there have just been so many challenges, legal challenges, one after the other. I don't know about the about whether those were important or not important, but I know that it's not going to be 4 years if we continue all these legal challenges. And I know that looking at the fact that we're saying we're going to have our first trespass in 11 years, it's 11 years is a really short time. We don't really have time to just turn on we can't just go, oops, now we're in drought, we're going to turn on a desal plant. We have to have at least 5 to 10 years to plan for that factor. So those are the things that concern me from the Carmel River perspective. Thank you for listening.
Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Josh Stratton with California American Water. Just have a few comments, if you don't mind. Thank you for considering the public's input on this important issue for potentially modifying the cease and desist order. Callum sent a comment letter to you earlier today. Hopefully, you've all had a chance to see it. I have more copies here if you'd like. Some have some on the counter here as well for the other public to grab. For many years, Cal-Am and the Water Management District have worked cooperatively on conservation programs, which have reduced water use, and we're very proud of the outcomes that we together have generated. And I think often the collaboration is lost. All the collaboration that we do indeed do is two organizations. So we're really proud of our collaboration that we've done to reach this point. And as a result of that collaboration, the Carmel River ecosystem is recovering, and customers haven't had to bear the financial hardship of impacts to be imposed by the state for exceeding the 3,376 acre feet allocation. Our hope is that we can continue to work collaboratively on with the district on its application to lift the CDO and find that balances long-term water reliability, current production constraints, and water quality challenges in the Seaside Basin and protection of the Carmel River. California American Water is responsible for providing safe, reliable water to the public and the residents of Monterey Peninsula, and we look forward to additional discussions with you moving forward about the proposed application. Thank you.
Thank you, Josh. Any other, we got public comments. No, we don't allow that, sorry.
I wouldn't have made up comments about that house.
Well, yeah, well, we have a longstanding policy of 3 minutes per person, regardless of where the conversation goes. Okay.
Okay, we have a few speakers by Zoom. First, we have Rem. Rem, when you're ready, you may address the board.
Yeah.
Good evening, Chair, members of the board, staff and public. My name is Rem Scherzinger. I'm the General Manager at Marina Coast Water District. Marina Coast is in support of this item. We believe that there is sufficient supply now that Pure Water Monterey expansion is on board with 2250 addition. We believe that the water supply behind that water is strong, as we are the provider of the majority of that wastewater. I would also echo Mr. Stratton's point of collaboration. Cal-Am and Marina Coast have now signed an interconnection agreement. So to the drought and water scarcity issues, Marina Coast stands to backstop a portion of the Cal-Am deliveries to the city of Seaside, Sand City, and areas north and west of 218 and Highway 68. So with that, again, Marina Coast strongly recommends that the Water Management District pursue the modification of the CDO by lifting Section 2, which is the meter moratorium. Thank you very much, everyone, for your consideration and time on this matter.
Thank you, Rem.
Next, we have Marley Melton. Ms. Melton, when you're ready.
I just wanted to say congratulations and thank you to everyone who has worked so hard and so intelligently and carefully and diligently, in my opinion, to make this happen. And I appreciate all your work and wish you all the best in going forward with this request to lift the CDO. And also, I agree with Director Fall that we're diligently could be removed and it would still be a very excellent request. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next, we have Melody Chrislock.
Melody Clock. So this is great. Long time coming. This is wonderful news that you're going to ask the State Water Board to let us use the water we've got. Makes sense. To the lady in Carmel Valley that was concerned, that 11,000 acre feet, if you followed, we put this public water now, we followed the hearing or parties to it. There's 2,000 acre feet of false demand in there. So there's so much water now that we're not going to get there. We're not going to have, 11 years from now, we'll still have plenty of water. There's just no way that we're going to use that up, even though the CPUC wants to believe that for some reason. I'm concerned that the County Water Resources Agency is trying to intimidate the peninsula cities about this new water supply. What was in the Pine Cone was really indicative of this. And why? I mean, I remember being at the State Water Board, not this summer, but the summer before, and hearing their, the same thing. Oh, well, we want to use that water. Well, for what? Oh, we want to grow crops all winter long. Really? You've got an critically overdrafted basin, and now you want to grow more crops? That doesn't make any sense right there. I mean, stop right there. What are they talking about? And then you look at, they've got Slims Valley pumps about 500,000 acre feet of water a year, and they are harassing us over 2,770 acre feet that Pure Water Monterey expansion uses. And they think that's going to stop their seawater intrusion. And to use that water, they'd have to do something like build a Pure Water Monterey facility. Even if they could ever fund a project like that, it's decades away. And they only have contractually the use of the peninsula and marinas wastewater for the next 20 years. And that's it. So I hope somebody is explaining the reality behind the Water Resources Agency's claims to the various city councils that have been intimidated by this. It's just, there's some nonsense going on there. And I hope it gets clarified, because not everybody was at the, not everybody knows that behind the scenes, what's really going on there with their claims. Anyway, great work, you guys. I feel good about this. I think the State Water Board will do it. Thanks so much.
Thank you.
Chair Riley, I see no other raised hands.
Okay, back to the board. Are we ready to move forward? Yes.
Couple more comments.
Okay,
So,
Supervisor.
do want to say that I read the Pinecone article too, and what I heard was a request to wait until the GSA plans were finalized. But I've also heard very clearly from the Water Resources Agency that there are no plans to use that water for a long time. And, but there are these planning documents that are underway that will be complete and submitted to the state by 2027. And if I understood correctly, it was a request to wait until those plans are completed. That said, there is, I believe, two issues being confused that I want to be really clear from you that we in our application are not confusing. One is that we need the flexibility in modifying condition 2, even in order to use the water we have today and meet the state's demands and our local goals for things like housing. And so this 11-year out potential date doesn't concern me, because we could take the state's own number, the state's own supply, and live within those means. You still have allocations. And that's the part that I think is getting confused. This is not lifting the CDO. And correct me if I'm wrong, because this is dense, and I thank you, Karen, for reading the level of detail that you read clearly. I did not. So I really want to be corrected, but we are asking for a modification or even a lifting of condition 2, so we can set those meters, so we comply with every single one of the housing elements that have been produced in every single one of our jurisdictions, which ask for rezone. We have to, in order to comply with the state mandate, we have to rezone. And this is saying, go ahead and rezone, but you're not going to be able to put a meter, or you're not going to be able to intensify use in any of those projects, even if they're great infill projects that aren't going to put tax our water supply in ways that I think were confusing. So my question really is, are you making a request that is for flexibility, not for lifting the CDO, but for lifting condition 2 that lives within even the means that the State Water Board, and I know I already asked this, sorry, not the State Water Board, but living within the means that the CPUC just issued, which is the supply that they issued? I'm just looking for some clarification in the actual request and whether or not it's safe to say that, because I'm 100% supportive, and I think I'm not concerned.
So first off, our assistant general manager, who we've sent off to a conference, texted about a half hour ago, you need to clarify that this is a modification of the CDO, not a lifting of the CDO.
Thank you. He and I think alike.
So, and that is clear. And if you read the actual language, it's a request to rescind. Well, if you look at the proposed, it says condition 2 from water right, the previous CDO is hereby rescinded. It also says that the Deputy Director of Water Rights retains the right to reinstate it or something similar if necessary. So that's what's being asked, is to take the guardrails off and let us see how we grow. We're not making a promise to stick within the CPUC's numbers. What we're doing is we're saying, you currently get quarterly and annual data, and that's actual.
Mm-hmm.
And so here's a departure or a difference. The PUC assigned no value to the Malpasa water right. Malpasa water right is a water license, so it's even better than a water right. It's licensed. It's about 86 acre feet per year, and it serves CalAm customers through CalAm meters. It's CalAm demand. The PUC assigned zero value to that as a supply source in their 11204. But we know it exists. It's reported. And so at the end of every year, all of the supply sources, whatever they are, that, as I said earlier, feed the system, get reported. And that's your production for customer service. That's your demand for that prior year. So you actually know what happened that prior year. So we're saying whatever that is, year in and year out. Sand City desal, you got to pick a number. What's it worth? It's not worth 300. You're never going to get 300 acre feet. But the PUC only assigned 94 acre feet per year. And here we just came off the year where it's 164. And with a new intake well, it should get back to around 200. So the actual value of supply that exists in any one year will reveal itself at the end of that year. And so the idea is, if you lift the restriction on setting meters and the use of water at an existing site, and you get out 3, 4, 5 years and you look backwards, now you know what your real growth rate is. The demand curve that was adopted by the PUC has no value at that point because you're tracking real demand. So this is where I say, let's stop quibbling over whose vision of the future is right, and let's get to the future. And the only way to get to the future is to modify the CDO to remove that. Reporting remains relatively the same, only better, and the triggers become more meaningful.
So I'd like to move along.
Well,
Okay.
Yeah.
Any other comments? I'll just put the pressure on. Okay.
no. I mean, we can.
It's a big topic.
Well, no, it's a big topic, but we supported this because we asked them to write this application, right? So that's a non-starter about what we're going to do necessarily. But just to put some facts on the table, you know, someone talked about premature earning, right? And it made a lot of good sense, made good sense. But I go back to my point, if you don't start using water, then of course you'll never need it. So then why are you talking about neither desal or anything else? You must need water. And so I skip past all that because we won't know it's premature until, like Dave said, you're down the road and something happens. But how do you get to the 12 or 21 years if you don't start? But every year we know it's an indication that we have 10 years left, we have 8 years left, 9 years left. But that's the worst case scenario. So these are my last comments, Chair. I just wanted to, you know, we're here representing the people that vote for us, and I'm here representing people sending me over here. And our cities cannot wait one more day, one more month, one more year to respectfully ask, meaning with the best facts we have as determined, that the Water Resource Board may say no. Well, if they say no, that's fine, but we don't have time to wait to ask them. We are what is it? The ratepayers, they have conserved, they have paid for these projects with interest and profit to get us to this point where we think we have enough information to go forward. For us to think we have enough information to go forward and don't go forward because of someone else's dream, someone else's thought, then what are we doing here? That's why I always ask myself, what am I doing here? Right? I'm here to lead in a sense. Right? Our job, the job of the reps for the cities is to push for relief, rescinding the CDO condition true with the facts so stated earlier. What more can we ask our rate users to do? All we're asking is that the CDO condition number 2 be modified. There's more than enough evidence on the table to ask respectfully from the Water Resource Board to do. So, thank you, Chair.
Thank you. So, Alvin, this hopefully the last comment.
Oh, yeah, this is the last comment. After I'm gonna make the motion to approve this, to let the general counsel apply this application with the general manager to the State Water Board. And I'd like to speak on the second, if I may.
Okay, is there a second on the motion?
To clarify the motion, is that as amended by Director Paul?
As amended by Director Paul.
Thank you.
I'll second that.
Thank you.
Okay.
And just quickly on the second.
Okay, on the second.
On the second. Back in 2001, Stephanie Silon, she can correct me. We added an ordinance to add a second bathroom onto whoever wanted to. There wasn't enough water then. You know what they called it? They called it paper water. I never forget that being called paper water. Now, we're out of the paper water business. Now we have water. You know, I've been on this board about 20 years, minus the 8 that I went for the city council and 4 for rest. But 20 years, and I heard it all. I heard it. Desal, dams, desal, dams. We finally got a project that is built and water going into the ground. Stephanie, I used to ask Stephanie, when can we allocate water? She gladly said, when we have a water project. We have had 2 water projects that's delivering water. I believe we need to get off the CDO or modify it. Modify it. I read the pine cone and I was surprised when somebody said, don't use no water until 2026. I said, well, who talking like that? And thank God we had Stephanie there saying the water is there. This board has been over about 5, 10, 15 times. General manager, where the water at? It's here. We have it. So no need to keep discussing that and what the county want to do, which they need this water because they got all those lots of record out there. They got lots of record that needs to be filled, taken care of. This can do it.
Get those people. And if people sitting in their houses listening to this tonight and not running to their council supervisors meeting and say, I want the water, use it now. Use it now. But I'm glad we're moving on this. You know, after my 20 years, I've seen it all and felt it all. And it's time for us to move forward. And we can work on desal. That's the next big project out there. But you got water now. And it's not paper water. It's real water. Let's use it. Thank you.
All right, let's go for roll call.
Director Daniels,
Aye.
Director Edwards,
Aye.
Director Lindor,
Aye.
Director Paul,
Aye.
Vice Chair Oglesby,
Aye.
Chair Riley.
Aye. Motion carries. Yeah. It passes 8-0. Well, no, it's still 7-0. Anyway, never mind.
Motion passes 6-0.
6-0, yes, let's not, don't let me confuse things. Okay, we have one more action item to proceed with, which is
Discussion items.
it's a discussion item. Okay. Well, let's.
It's going to feel like a letdown after all that. But you had requested a summary of the amnesty program.
Yes.
Upon its conclusion, it concluded October 1st, and Stephanie is here to present.
I am here and I'm going to make a very quick presentation. I included a very detailed staff report in your packet. Resolution 2024-13, which was the amnesty program, wrapped up on September 30th. Over the course of the past year, staff contacted property owners of 1,470 open or unfinalized water permits and helped to resolve and close 84% of those permits. So 1,242 of the 1,470 were dealt with. As part of this effort, the board authorized use of the district reserve allocation, and there was a total of 5.11 acre feet used as part of that project. Staff will continue following up on the remaining open permits, although property owners won't have the benefit of using the district reserve, and they may require water and permits from the jurisdictions. So I hope you've all had a chance to look at that staff report. I think it's really good reading, and I will leave it at that and answer any questions you have on this. Thank you.
Stephanie, one question. In the allocation report, which are informational items, has the district reserve already been decremented
Yes.
as of the end of September?
Yes.
Yeah. So as you see, the remaining balance in the district reserve is 2,086 acre feet. And she mentioned in her presentation, we used, what was the total?
5.11.
5.11. So I hate to say it was.
And we
drop in the
closed,
bucket, but
and we closed 1,242 permits.
Well, what a wonderful staff report on a long-standing kind of back closet issue that just finally came forward.
And going forward, as I mentioned when this whole project started, our current database allows us to do much better tracking. So current permits don't have the same issues that we had, which we cleaned up. So we're going to continue working on cleaning up those old guys that are still outstanding, and that may involve different legal processes. But overall, I think it was a super successful effort. My staff put their all into it for a year, and I think it was just a really successful project.
Yeah, I got a visit.
Can I make-
Okay, any other comments at all or anything? This is
One
just a
short one
report.
from,
Okay.
yes. Thank you. I really appreciate it does seem like it was very successful. I see from your report that it required a lot of work, and I just want to thank you and the whole staff that worked on it for doing all of that work. And I know you're not quite done, but you've achieved a lot.
year. My question is now going forward, and you partially answered this question because you say the new system is better. Do you have the resources you need to keep up and not fall behind again, so we don't have this problem again?
Yeah, and I think, yes, I think we do right now. Primarily, the problem was we've gone through 3 different databases over the past 30 years. And so between that and the fact that we require the property owner or the person who pulls the permit is responsible to contact us for a final inspection. That's kind of where we ran into some issues. We've gotten the jurisdictions on board at this point with requiring final inspections by the district before they actually complete their own finals. So that's a huge step forward. So I think we're going to be all right going forward. And yeah, I think our new databases are definitely helpful.
Great. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, everyone. This is, we accept the report.
Thank you.
And we do. So no other comments from the board. We are adjourned.